Welcome everyone back to Between the Ropes TV. We're a week away from the massive fight at the weekend, Wilder versus Fury. So we thought we'd do a massive debate, and we thought we'd also get George in. Welcome, George, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, lads. All good. Looking forward to the fight this weekend, and of course, discussing it with you guys. I guarantee there'll be a little bit of a divide between the opinions, but good to thrash it all out.
That's it, and that's exactly why we thought we'd have a fourth guest. We thought we'd think everyone's going to have different opinions on this one. I mean, the main opinion we probably all share is let's hope that both fighters make it to the fight, and we don't actually see what happened at the weekend with Eubank Jr. not getting to a fight. That was a bit gutting on what was already a pretty average card, wasn't it? But there's no average card this week, and we'll talk about the Wilder Fury big debate. I'm going to go over to the person that I know is going to back Fury because he absolutely loves him. Josh, I'm going to hand it over to you to plead your case about why Fury's not only going to win, but I'm pretty sure from what you said before, you're going to back him convincingly, aren't you?
Absolutely. I mean, this is Fury Wilder 3, but it's not a trilogy in a traditional boxing trilogy that we get. There's no call for the third fight other than a contract. The first fight, whether you like it or not, Fury absolutely outboxed him and was completely robbed. One of the worst.
Wilder won the first fight. I'm starting off by saying it was the slowest 10 count I've ever seen. And
not a chance. Let someone else speak, Scott. We're all bored of your voice, mate. So I'm sorry. Fury boxed his head off. He won. Worst decision in recent boxing history. Second fight, he did exactly what he said he was going to do and destroyed him. So we've seen him box him. We've seen him destroy him. Other than the contract, there's no call for a third fight. I know what you're going to say, always with his new trainer, Malik Scott. And if you look at his clips, his boxing skills has come on. And yeah, they have. But you don't become a great boxer. Ben's gone. Ben's
already heard enough of your rubbish. He's gone.
But you don't become a good boxer in 18 months. I thoroughly believe that. And he's just not going to have brought on his skill set enough to outbox the likes of Tyson Fury. And for that, I'm sticking my flag in the ground. Fury by stoppage in the middle rounds.
You reckon he's going to stop him again? Even though you've got to remember this time round in Wilder's head, let me put that in Wilder's head. He's not going to have a disloyal trainer in the camp, and he's going to say, I'm going to die in the ring. He'd rather die in the ring than go down. And that's what a hero Wilder is for me. Absolute hero. George, do you think it's going to be a stoppage then? Do you see Fury getting a stoppage, or is this going to points? And firstly, are you backing Fury or Wilder in this debate?
Well, I'm obviously Team Fury, and I think Fury will get the job done. I do think it will be a closer fight than that second fight. I don't see it being round 8 of that second fight where Fury's all over Wilder. What I see actually is quite a tight first 3 or 4 rounds where both fighters are almost on edge, maybe a little bit reluctant to engage. I think the one thing that I've got in my mind now is both have been out of action now for 18 months. They both haven't had a fight since that last fight, and I think it could be a little bit of a chess match. What I expect from Wilder and what he's got to do is vary it up. He can't be looking for one big headshot. He's got to be working Fury to the body, because I think we know what Fury's going to do now. He's going to come forward, maraud forward, try and smother him, and the way to stop that is start trying to impose yourself on him. And I think the only trick that Wilder has got to do that is to throw straight right hands to the body, jabs to the body, and then maybe look for a shot upstairs. So I see a fairly close first 4 rounds or so, and then Fury really coming into it and sticking behind his boxing, and really, maybe a late stoppage towards the end, but probably around the marks of 8-4 Fury on the cards. Fairly wide victory for him. But I do see a better showing from Deontay Wilder. Hopefully he turns up for this fight, because even though Tyson Fury's last performance in the second fight was punch perfect, I don't think that was the best Deontay Wilder.
No, I don't think it was. So, George, do you think, obviously, you're scoring it 4 rounds, obviously, potentially within 4 rounds. Do you think that Wilder might get a knockdown? And, Josh, that's another question for you as well, actually. Both of you, really. Do you both think that Wilder, although you're supporting Fury, can you see a Wilder knockdown? Obviously, we'll start with you, George.
Yeah, that's the other way you could derive that score as well, is Wilder picking up a couple of rounds and then maybe a knockdown. and again, I'd see that happening early. Maybe Fury not quite being on the ball and then needing a little bit of a wake-up call and then him really kicking into gear. The one bit that just itches in the back of my mind about Fury, and look, I'm a massive Tyson Fury fan, is I just wonder around motivation for this fight. He's obviously beat him, as Josh said, in a boxing match, knocked him out in the last fight. He said the other day on record that he was devastated that AJ lost because it's obviously blown that big undisputed all British fight out of the water now. And you know, he's had his personal struggles recently with his daughter being in intensive care. And I'm not trying to put excuses there already, but we know what Tyson Fury is like as a fighter. When he's not fighting on that fear or the fear that he could be beat, he can sometimes go into fights not underprepared, but just not switched on. And you don't want to do that against a puncher like Deontay Wilder. So I just hope he's switched on from the bell and we see the best Tyson Fury.
Yeah, for sure. Josh, do you also then think that are you predicting a Wilder knockdown as well, or do you just think it's going to be?
No, I honestly think I do agree with some of the factors George said. I think the 18 months out certainly has benefited Deontay Wilder more than it would have favoured Tyson Fury, particularly with the personal circumstances. But you know, Fury talks a lot about being the greatest heavyweight of certainly of his generation, possibly ever. And with Joshua's loss against Usyk, this is potentially a fight that Fury can really start to cement that for me, because you know, as George rightly pointed out, you know, the motivation. Oh well, I'm not getting the big payday with the Joshua fight. If he keeps his head in the game, goes and gets the big win, he's sort of elevated himself, hasn't he? Like, he's handled the pressure, and as again George so rightly pointed out, we talk about when Tyson Fury's head really isn't on it. It can sometimes he puts in not the best of performances. So if he can sort of dispel all those negatives, then really you're looking for Tyson Fury as there's an argument of he needs to obviously face Dillian Whyte and Alexander Usyk, and he sort of completed it, hasn't he?
What more can he do? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's finished.
And I think it's interesting. I want to make a point in a minute about the fact of, you know, what happens if Fury's head isn't in the game. But I want to bring Ben into it first, because Ben, we know obviously talking beforehand, you're backing a Wilder knockout, aren't you? As much as your team Fury, you're backing Wilder to get the job done.
Well, I'm glad that Fury's finally going to defend a world title, for starters. It's about time, isn't it? But I hope Fury batters him, but I can't see it happening. I just think Wilder, you say, oh, he's got a box, he's got a jab, he's got one move, and that's to punch someone with power, one hit wonder. And it works, and I think he's going to catch him a couple of times, sure, and I think the ref will stop it. Whether people will agree or not, I just don't. I think boxing heavyweight, it's going downhill, and all these fights we want to see, it's not happening that way. And then it would not surprise me if Wilder wins and we see a fourth fight, and no one wants the third fight, never mind a fourth. And I've just got this.
Sure. No way we want number 4 after this.
I've just got a bad feeling.
We'll look back and think, without realising, this was the big heavyweight fight that we thought Joshua Fury was going to be, because Joshua's just proven himself as a massive bum. I'll keep saying it.
We're not. Sorry, can I just jump
this? If Wilder wins this, heavyweight boxing is done for a while. It really is.
It's not though. I just want to jump in there. Sorry to sort of cut you all off. I agree with what you're both saying. You know, I've joked on here openly about we'll end up with Fury Wilder 72 and all that sort of stuff. But being serious, we're boxing fans. We're not excited about this fight other than the fact you're getting to see some big names. If Wilder then knocked Fury out, would you all not be more excited for the fourth fight than you would be this one?
Anyway.
No.
No, what I'd want to see...
I would rather see White take on either of these two than watch them fight this one, never mind again. No matter what the result is, I do not want to see it again.
And I'd rather see, if that happens, Usyk fights Wilder and we get Joshua Fury, even though there's no belts on the line, but it's a massive fight. Whoever wins that is straight back in there, fights the winner of the other fight. That's how it should be. It should be like a round robin with these 4 now, Dillian Whyte thrown in the mix, all fighting each other. If you win, you carry on. If you lose, you fight the other loser, and then you see who's the last man standing.
Yeah, George,
the heavyweight division.
I'm just going to do Scott's job for him here. Just quickly, you rightly said, and it has been joked about, I've seen quite a lot on social media about how we could finally end up with the undisputed fight book between Usyk and Wilder. Well, we've got you. How do you think that fight plays out? Because personally, I think Usyk absolutely schools him.
Yeah, I think he's going to confuse Wilder too much. And I think the way I describe Usyk when he fights, he's like a wasp. He's just in, out, pop shots away. The only thing I could see where Wilder wins there, and I actually think he's got more chance of potentially knocking out Usyk than anyone else, is the southpaw orthodox style that happens with Wilder. Best punch, that straight right hand. As a southpaw, that's the one that you are vulnerable to, and vice versa as well. We saw it last week where Usyk was hitting that straight backhand at will against AJ, and I could see that happening. I don't think Wilder would get out like bullied by Usyk like he does against Fury, but I do see if he had that fight 10 times, I see Usyk winning that 8 or 9 times. The one time is just Wilder cracking that right hand down the middle.
Let's not forget that Joshua got caught with Usyk's big Usyk got caught by some of Joshua's punches, and if that one of those Joshua punches was a Wilder punch, that's good night.
No, because I think the thing is, though, you look at, like you're saying, he got cooked, but the way Usyk positioned himself was perfect. Like you're saying, the straight right, Joshua couldn't get a straight right in Usyk because he wasn't stood in front of him. He's always stood a pace to the one side. So Joshua was not fighting head on. And against Wilder just, he can't box. Usyk would stop him within 7. So, we do a better job than Fury did last time.
Well, this is why I can't wait. This is why I can't wait until this weekend, because all this rubbish about Wilder can't box, Wilder can't do this, it's just going to be dispelled. And I'm going to throw my
record.
I'm going to throw my
resume is terrible
now about this
fight.
Harrison. I fear that I honestly, if Tyson Fury, right, he keeps talking the talk, saying he's aware how dangerous Deontay Wilder is. I kind of hope he is taking him serious and he is preparing 100% and he hasn't got his eyes elsewhere. Because if he has, I fear for his life on Sunday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning. I really do. You're stepping in the ring with the greatest probably puncher of boxing ever. I don't think there's a boxer
Mike Tyson
a one punch from Deontay Wilder, and you're stepping in the ring with the biggest puncher that there ever has been and ever will be.
There's better pound for pound punches out there at the moment. Anyway,
it's not about pound for pound. It's all about just that one punch power. If there's one person that I won't want to step into a ring with, it's Deontay Wilder.
Right,
it is, and I think that he's going to dispel so many. And people forget how dangerous this man is, because whether you believe it or not, in his own brain, we know how much of let's face it, he's a bit of a psycho. I mean, we've seen quotes before where he says he loves boxing because it's the only career you can do where you can take someone's life in the ring and not get jailed for it.
Scott, with that, he's just trying to build some form of profile because he couldn't even sell out the little arena in his hometown. That is all he's doing. It's clickbait. Look at who he fought. We've only in this bloody prolonged trilogy because Wilder thought, I can get Fury now while he's just come back to boxing. Yeah. I can get a name on my record and finally someone will show me some respect. Then I'll go over and see Eddie Hearn and try and get a nice big payday to fight Anthony Joshua. And it's not worked. Instead, they're selling 50% of the tickets. The rest are going to charity. It's a fight no one's really excited about, particularly in America. You're the one person in the world who thinks Deontay Wilder can box.
Here's my question. Off that, Scott, take Deontay Wilder's one punch power out of it. Name his best performance. Has there been a decent boxing performance by him? That's what I want to know. Not how he's won the fight. Give me one performance where you watched him for fucking hell, he's world class.
My answer to that is if you take the motor out of a motorbike, it's just a bicycle.
But you're on about he can't box. It annoys you when people say he can't box. So not about the knockout. When's he boxed well?
Why does he need to box well? He's got the biggest punch there is.
No.
You take the motor out of a motorbike. It's a bicycle.
For boxing.
Ben's got rid of himself. Ben's got rid of himself. He knew his analogy was terrible. He knew the question was terrible, and he's got rid of himself. Look, honestly, with Wilder, I think he's going to win, and I honestly think he's going to dispel. He's going to dispel all these these things. And people are saying, you know, people have got to remember everyone's took him for a joke this last 18 months. This guy is going to come back with some fury, if you pardon the pun, on Sunday.
Scott, let's just hope he checks his own water. He checks, he just wears a t-shirt, maybe out to the ring. Yeah. Hopefully Ricky Hatton's not in the corner tampering with Tyson Fury's gloves.
Yeah, house bricks in there.
Well, there's going to be any disloyal trainers in his camp this time.
Well, the thing is, and this is the other thing, I agreed with Tyson Fury on at the press conference when Deontay Wilder was that scared he wouldn't even talk. How can he, I'm so annoyed with you right now, Scott. How can he train Deontay Wilder to do something he couldn't do himself?
Because Deontay's got better tools than Malik had.
No, not a chance. I'm sorry. Wrap this up because this is going to get out of hand. And we're going to end up with you crying or Ben leaving again. I don't know what the hell's happened to Ben tonight. Poor George comes here in good faith and he's just been welcomed into an absolute shambles.
To ask this question to the two, not Wilder supporters, but the two of you who think Wilder will win, when do you see him winning? And if he's knocking Fury out, are you saying the only way you can beat Fury is by knockout? And if so, when do you see that happening?
I think he's late on. I think he'll get a couple of knockdowns to begin with. I think he'll come out strong. I think the ref will step in. I don't think it will necessarily be 100% he knocked him out. But I think the ref will step in because Fury's been put down a couple of times. I think the ref will step in.
No.
Scott?
I think possibly it'll either be really early or really late. So I'm going to say like either round 3 or round 12.
Right, both of you've both got pretty pictures in your background. Put the cameras on them because they're going to make more sense. This is ridiculous.
Josh, but this last little argument I had with Scott, who was the one wrong? Come on, you can't use confidence last time because to be fair.
Oh, so that's what you've done. You've been an absolute sheep.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you've been a sheep, unlike the cow in your background. You've been a sheep and decided, I'll back Scott because I've got no balls.
I was right last time, and I'll put my money where my mouth is again.
That's it. No, I'm sorry, I'm sacking you, Per. George, welcome to Between the Ropes full time, mate. You're on.
George, right, massive thanks for coming on. We'll end it here. And just before we go, there's just 2 words, ain't there, left to say. Bomb Squad! See you all on the next one.